so you've got this technology that's based on stuff that we found in these crafts. But so they have the reactor in the middle. There's the gravity amplifiers around the outside, and he said there was 3 of them, and they were evenly spaced. And that's kind of neat. I mean, because right below them were the what did he call the
emitters? They were gravity emitters.
Yeah, gravity emitters. And he said they were on a mount that was able to move 180 degrees. So because it hangs down below the surface like that, and then it would be able to.
Right, they were essentially on ball joints. Like they could pivot and move 180, and then they could also move 360 degrees.
That's the thing. He didn't say they were on ball joints. He said that they were just fixed and that they were able to move.
Right.
But it seems like a ball joint.
They pivoted in a similar fashion to a ball joint.
Right. And then he said that they were able to move, or they were able to rotate 360 degrees.
Right.
Which is cool. And then what they would do is they would focus the gravity and then essentially travel through it.
Right.
They would be traveling forward at a normal rate of speed, but space-time around them would bend and stretch.
Exactly. So it's kind of, I mean, people have theorized before. I don't know if Bob Lazar's comments were ever mentioned in the discussions I've ever read or listened to, but that's how they always theorize like warp drives would work, and warp factors would essentially be how severe of a pinch you would be putting on the fabric of space-time to create a stronger, essentially, pull. If you're having a hard time visualizing it, think of it kind of like this. So you have a sink that's half full of water, and you turn your faucet on so you get a nice steady flow of water, nothing crazy where it's real turbulent or anything like that. Then you take the cap off of a water bottle and you stick it so it's, fins up like a boat, and then you sit that in the sink, and then it'll start pulling towards where that water's coming from. It's because the water surface tension is being bowed down.
Right.
And it's drawing the cap towards it. That's essentially kind of how this works. The water surface, the water tension that the cap is floating on is space-time. And then the incoming new water, which would be gravity, which would be what comes out of those emitters. Exactly, is dipping that down, causing that cap to move.
So if mass affects gravity, would a larger planet have a different concept of time?
Yes and no. So it depends. One, because a physical planet's going to take longer to rotate. There's just more surface area.
But what if it's moving at a relative speed? So Earth spins at like 1,000 miles an hour.
I thought it was 3, but for sake of argument, 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah. So the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour hypothetically.
Right.
What if there is a larger planet, say that's twice Earth's size, but it's spinning at 2,000 miles an hour?
Well, then it would be the same. But now imagine
would the gravity be the same?
Well,
it
depends.
Would the gravity be more?
If that planet was made out of a less dense material than Earth, then yes.
So if its base elements were
half the density of Earth's, then it's essentially same size planet, same weight.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
It's the whole pound of feathers, pound of bricks.
Yeah,
argument.
Right. Which is heavier?
Yeah, exactly. Pound of feathers or a pound of bricks.
Yeah. I feel like I gotta say this. I'm not a fucking particle physicist, and I right. What am I doing here?
Yeah, I thought I came here to learn.
I have like the most basic grasp on this stuff. Like I hear him talking, and I'm like, okay, I know those words.
But I remember high school. Yes,
but in that order, what do they mean?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have any special schooling beyond high school physics.
Yeah, I didn't even take physics in high school, dude. Yeah, I barely passed biology.
Attaboy.
Yeah. So
I took 4 years of welding. So I could build you a table.
One of the things I thought was most interesting was the way he talked about how the craft travels.
Yes, you're talking the belly first technique?
Yeah, so instead of, because you always see UFOs traveling this way. And he said with those gravity emitters down below, what they would do is it would use 2 to stand on, to hover,
Mhm.
and then a third pointed out ahead, directing it where to go. And that's how it would travel.
Right.
But then that's what he called cruise mode or
Omicron formation.
Yeah. And then there's
While he's wearing the Cray supercomputer shirt.
Yeah. It made me think of Omicron Persei 8. Was that Futurama?
Yes.
No, that was Omicron Persei 8 is
It sounds like a transformer.
it's Simpsons. That's where Kang and Kodos are from,
Okay.
I think.
I mean, you're the expert.
Yeah.
One of us has a podcast on The Simpsons, and it's not me.
Fucking wonder who it is then.
Must be Jesse.
So like that shit's that's how they cruise. And then he said they have delta formation where the ship will stand up on its hind like if it was a car, it would be like standing on its back bumper.
Right.
And then flying wheels first because he said those gravity emitters would focus in on the destination and then it would just go. And that was where they showed the simulation of what it looked like. And I imagined it like, so say you have like a sheet of nylon
Mm-hmm.
and you're pressing into the sheet of nylon and that's how fast you can go.
Right.
Now somebody grabs the back side of that and stretches it way out.
Mm.
Now you can go through there.
Right.
That was what it looked like.
Right.
And then when Bob Lazar was talking about it, he said it was like imagine having a bowling ball sitting on your bed, and you go over a couple feet away from the bowling ball and you put your fist down and you press down on it. And that bowling ball is going to roll towards your fist
Mm-hmm.
because that like the surface of the mattress is gravity.
Right.
This is the craft. Your fist is 115.
Right.
And that's what it's doing is it's distorting gravity and drawing matter to it.
Exactly.
And that blows my fucking mind.
Yeah.
It blows my fucking mind.
That's a real life warp drive, Holmes.
Yeah, dude, and the fact that we have this stuff, we have this information, we have this technology, according to Bob.
According to Bob, yeah.
Now, what do you think? Do you buy Bob Lazar's story? Now, I want to say before this, he doesn't care if you buy it or not.
That's true. I mean, the dude's had a hard go of it. Regardless if the story's true or not, I mean...
Absolutely.
Dude,
it's been rather rough on him.
Dude hasn't had an easy life. I wish him the best. You know, as far as all of his claims, I mean, he
so many of them have been accurate.
True. And he has predicted stuff that has later come out to be
like
proven.
115.
115, and there was something else.
He was talking about that in 82.
Yes.
And that was...
the handprint scanner. Like the old school handprint scanner that they had at super high security
the
military
handprint scanner
installations.
that he was talking about for a long time, and then that Jeremy Corbyn guy finally found it.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think Bob Lazar talking about element 115 in 82.
Right.
And then it being quote-unquote officially discovered in 2014?
I think so. Well, they announced it. They were like, yes, we found something, but it only lasted for like a millionth or a billionth.
2003.
Okay. Yeah, it hardly lasted any time at all, relatively speaking. Its half-life was so severe, it essentially blinked out.
Yeah.
Shortly after making it.
It was super fast. Well, because it's so much matter, and it's coming into contact with, that's the reactor process. But I think that's why the half-life of it is so short, because it has something to do with
colliding with real matter.
Well,
essentially, it's antimatter.
And what we're dealing with is super unstable. What Bob Lazar was dealing with back then,
right,
was stable. They were dealing with a stable final product.
Right. It's kind of like gunpowder. Essentially we're developing astrophysic gunpowder. When it first came around,
I can see that.
We were blowing ourselves up, and I think the Chinese were the first to really get the ball rolling on good, stable, healthy air quotes, healthy gunpowder. It wouldn't go off in your hand and fucking wipe you out along with it when you sneezed. But yeah, exactly. But now we've got, bullets will last on a shelf. Their gunpowder won't go bad as long as you're stored in a relatively dry, as long as you're not in Georgia, in the middle of a field with the cardboard box, sitting right there amongst the grass, that gunpowder's pretty much got an infinite lifespan on the shelf.
Take that, George's grass.
So it's kind of like that. We're just kind of like stumbling upon how to properly build this stuff, and then we got to figure out how to store it. Like, that's the missing link. Like, oh, we figured out if we fuck around with these two things, all of a sudden, boom, it blinks into existence for a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a second.
Right, and I think what happens is they're making it in these particle accelerators, and then it happens, and then before they can gauge any type of reaction or figure out how to make it stable, it's gone.
Well, and it's also a question of how much yield are we getting from each creation, because if it's a super, super small amount, then that half-life, while it's still quick, it's going to get consumed faster.
I believe it was out of every 1,000 molecules, one would survive.
Okay. So, I mean, it's essentially like gasoline. You pour a little bit on the ground and it evaporates quickly. You pour a lot of it on the ground, it cools itself off, and the puddle survives longer.
So, yeah. So, what they're saying is that it's got a 1/1000th success rate.
Okay.
Of survival. And then even when it does survive, its half-life is so short that it disappears.
Right. Listen, I want to believe Bob Lazar, everything he said. I want to believe all the statements he's got right at face value.
Same.
It's like I want to believe Atlantis is real. Like, I'm the poster. I am the X-Files poster. I want to believe.
Dude, have you seen like the underwater pathways and stuff?
Yes. But that's a different episode. Okay. Well, fuck it. We'll get there. God damn.
Slow it down.
Jesus Christ. One at a time. No, like I want to believe, but part of me is really, really skeptical just because of how, I don't want to say extravagant the claims are, but it's almost one of those like too good to be true kind of situations, because you got a guy who's been just basically like making a martyr out of himself since the 80s. I mean, and the government's been essentially squeegeeing him clean. I mean, God forbid that dude tries to go out and get a job nowadays, because he can't verify anything past high school for employment and for schooling. So, like, yeah, I went to MIT. Oh, where's your diploma?
I think it was Caltech.
Well, they said Caltech and MIT, so I think he did time at both.
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me.
And then they tried to scrub him from Los Alamos.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.